Well, good morning,
Good morning.
and welcome. This is a day that King County, in one way or another, has been working toward for the last 30 plus years. This is a day we can say no more concrete chunks will be heaped onto the pile of debris known as Mount Anderson. With the support of the court and of our partners in this community, we're going to reclaim this site for the people of Skyway and West Hill. This mountain started 33 years ago with a code violation in 1982. That was early in the administration of the second elected executive of King County. For decades, people have complained of dust in the air. They've complained of elevated rates of asthma. I first became aware of this problem when I became a staffer to the King County Council in the early 1990s. But efforts to regulate this operation time and again resulted in negotiated settlements that were not fully followed. The operation went bankrupt a decade ago. I came into office 6 years ago as the sixth elected executive of King County and picked up the fight that my predecessors had been carrying on. The owner slowly removed some of the debris, but earlier this year demanded even more time, another year and a half. I said, enough is enough, and I asked the court to shut it down. Today, I'm pleased to say that King County has a court order in hand that halts any further debris from being dumped here and funds a speedier cleanup of this eyesore and health hazard. I want to thank the King County Council for approving an advance of $400,000 for cleanup that I am ready to send to the bankruptcy receiver. This receiver will hire a contractor to crush the concrete debris of Mount Anderson and spread the grindings as dirt throughout the site. The funds will be reimbursed to the public from the sale of this property, and I understand that there are already offers on the table for its purchase. I want to be clear about expectations. Mount Anderson was not built in a day, and it is not going to disappear overnight. The bankruptcy receiver maintains control of the site and of the timetable, and a lot can happen over the next 6 months to a year. It's certainly not going to be a green field, but the dust and the eyesore will be gone. 6 years was too long to wait to get this done. 33 years was ridiculous. What this shows, it is way too easy, way too possible for anyone who is bound and determined enough to circumvent our land use codes, to avoid the law that's designed to protect neighbors and protect the environment. That is wrong, and we are going to fix that system that allows violators to skirt county code for decades. What made that possible was ambiguous and lenient and inefficient code enforcement laws that favor violators over the public interest. So I have instructed my permitting director, from whom you will hear a little bit later, to draft stronger common sense code enforcement rules that, among other things, shorten the length of time violators have to comply with the law and reduce the redundancies in the appeals process. A few months ago, I transmitted a report to the county council identifying where we can start with this process. My staff and our lawyers have been going through the code and identifying where are the weak spots, where are the kinks in the process, where can we make this work better for the people of King County. Once we arrive at a set of reliable fixes for code enforcement, I'm going to send them over to the county council for the public to review. These improvements will help relieve the burden on our code enforcement staff, who now face a staggering backlog of some 700 code violation cases. These improvements could cut that backlog in half over the next 3 years and eliminate it entirely in 6 years, and in the process, save $200,000 a year. Those savings can instead be devoted to taking on the higher level of enforcement needed for more serious and harmful violations like Mount Anderson. Let me introduce one of our strongest partners in the cleanup effort here. The West Hill Community Association has been bird-dogging this court case for years. I want to personally thank board member Sonia Bowden for her tenacity. And here to speak is the association president, Bill Bowden.
Good morning. I'd just like to say that for the West Hill Community Association, this represents the culmination of a decades-long effort to either have this operation run in a compliant manner or to shut down and go away. We're happy to know that it's at least in the process of shutting down and going away. The dust is actually unbelievable coming from this operation. I live over a mile away, and I live in the dustiest place I've ever lived, and it's all silica. It's all concrete dust. I'm also happy to know that this begins an effort by King County to modify its code enforcement, to strengthen code enforcement, to make things work better so that operations like this can be made to either comply or move away. So with all of that, this is a good day for us. We're happy to see this happen, and we're very much looking forward to the sale of the property and the development, and which I'm sure there's a lot more to come of that because it's actually quite a site. I know there are more than one developer quite excited to actually be at the site and develop it, and there are grand plans in the works. Thank you.
And now, representing Skyway Solutions, their Community Economic Development Manager, Andra Kranzler.
Good morning. Thank you so much. King County Executive Dow Constantine, Department of Environmental Review, and King County Council. Thank you for seizing this opportunity to use resources to address this environmental and health hazard. The residents of this community have been diligent advocates in getting this investment and getting us to this moment. We must not leave the residents behind as they know what's best for this community. And as we move forward with revitalization efforts, we want to make sure that we maximize community benefit agreements and that the residents that are currently living here are benefactors of all of the investments that come from this. This is a historic moment for this community as it means that there are champions inside King County moving us forward as a community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andra. We also have here with us today to answer your questions Alan Painter, who's our Community Services Area Manager for the Department of Natural Resources and Parks, and also John Starbird, who is the Director of the King County Department of Permitting and Environmental Review. And I would be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Do you know how long it'll take to clean up Mount Anderson? Is there a timeline?
That is still an open question. We believe it's a matter of months. It could be as long as a year, however. And the bankruptcy receiver is in charge of the timetable. So it's not our property, but we're pushing it forward with the aid of our court order.
So what can the county do to make sure that they remove it in a timely manner?
Well, of course, we'll be working closely with the bankruptcy receiver, and we'll continue to advance the funds that allow that cleanup to continue, funds that we'll then receive back when the property is sold.
What about making sure that the dust doesn't get to the residents during the cleanup process?
So now you're getting in an area of technical expertise, and I'm hoping that one of our staff can speak to that.
Where's John?
Are they ceasing operations now, or when will that happen?
No more material is to be accepted at the site based on the court order. No more material.
So whatever they have now that they're processing,
Then that needs to be reduced and compacted. Yes, sir.
We don't want this to last 26 years. My wife suffered for 25 years
Yes, sir.
with this. And I'm here to make sure that this get on the ball right away. Because there are kids in this neighborhood, and there's 4 families have lost their loved ones because of this. And we're tired of it.
Amen.
So we wanted to rush up everything.
Yes, sir, and we are in a big rush, and I can tell you that this community has strongly advocated and been terribly frustrated over the years at the inability to get these folks to cease this illegal operation. Now that we have the court order in hand and we have the mechanism to get this cleaned up and the bankruptcy receiver is in charge of the property, we're going to move as quickly as possible, and it is not going to be 26 years. It's going to be a matter of months or a year, and we're going to get this cleaned up, sold, and back into productive use. Any folks here with the
Immediate
cameras?
questions?
In terms of the $400,000, so is the value of that land worth that much?
Yes, that's my understanding. We will be in first position when according to our attorneys, when the land is sold in bankruptcy.
And then the new stricter code enforcement rules, so the public's going to review the proposals, and then how long do you think that'll take to implement?
The county council would take several months to review a set of new rules. It is entirely up to them how long the public process goes on. But what we want to do is make sure we have rules that are clear and fair, that are protective of the public, and that give landowners and business people assurance of what is allowed and what is not allowed, and doesn't leave a lot of ambiguity and loopholes that have been exploited in the case of this property.
Now, if the company's been violating these permits for so many years, was there an ability to completely shut them down now? And I know they're not going to take in any more concrete, but instead of letting them continue to operate, just completely shut it down and go from there?
Well, some of the folks who've actually been working on this can tell you more about the need to keep processing the material. It is important. We're not going to leave this big pile of concrete there, right? We've got to have it broken down and ultimately have the site restored. And I think that either our folks in the prosecutor's office or our permitting director can tell you more about that. And he will be available to answer your questions as soon as we're done here.
I don't know if this may be for you or for someone else, but aside from the visual eyesore of it, what were some of the other concerns for the neighborhood? Medical stuff, things like that. What were some of the other problems?
You heard about dust earlier,
Yeah.
and that, of course, is associated with asthma, and there's been, as I understand it, increased rates of asthma. You will talk with residents here, and you'll hear different stories about the impacts on neighbors, including in this community where we're meeting this morning. These rules exist for a reason. People are entitled to do business, but they're not entitled to harm others, to harm neighbors, or to harm the environment. We have to be very clear about that. We have to have clear enforcement, and I intend to rewrite these rules to ensure that we have that.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll be available for one-on-one interviews
Yeah.
afterwards.
And please, there are lots of folks here who can answer some of these technical
A lot of
questions.
residents here, too.
And a lot of residents. Thank you so
Thank you
very
so
much.
much.